To understand the current illegal government program of torture and assassination, it is important to understand the previous illegal government programs, COINTELPRO and MKUltra. COINTELPRO stands for Counterintelligence Program, run by the FBI, which probably began in the 1950s. COINTELPRO targets included the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement, the environmental movement, the women's movement, and opposition political parties. The strategies used by the FBI against organizations and individuals included infiltration by FBI agents, psychological warfare, harassment through the legal system, and violence, up to and including murder. The theme of forced suicide is repeated on other COINTELPRO targets besides Dr. Martin Luther King. These were people who did commit suicide. Forced suicide on a target allows plausible deniability for the crime. In effect, it is the perfect crime. The theory of counterinsurgency operations dictates that infiltration and psychological operations be mounted against dissident groups in normal times, before any mass movement can develop. This means that an undeclared war should be waged upon civil society, namely, people and organizations who are trying to bring about social change and political change in a lawful constitutional manner. The favorite tactic is the snitch jacket, where suspicion of being an informant is used against legitimate leaders. In practice, an FBI agent would join Dr. King's inner circle and use false documents and other means to make it appear that Dr. King himself was an FBI informant. The inner circle would be torn apart by suspicion and paranoia, broken apart from the inside. These operatives would routinely disrupt groups by spreading rumors, starting disagreements, aggravating rivalries and jealousy, and proposing dangerous or illegal actions to set the political activists up for prosecution or injury. The FBI would also use false news stories in the local papers or television, forged documents, and anonymous letters and phone calls to destroy relationships. Agents would also put pressure on landlords to evict the targets and on their employers to fire them from the job so that they would lose their home and their job at the same time. These make up just some of the strategies used to destroy the lives of activists. The program went silent in the late 1970s, only to reemerge again in the 1980s. MKUltra. MKUltra began in the 1950s, probably in 1953, when the CIA officer Richard Helms chose Dr. Sidney Gottlieb to run the TSS, the Dirty Tricks Department. Operation Paperclip recruited thousands of Nazi scientists and technicians to help the United States destroy the USSR. Dr. Gottlieb used Nazi scientists and their state-of-the-art mind control techniques they had perfected in concentration camps. The Nazi doctors coined the term mind control, which in German is abbreviated MK, thus the term MKUltra, or Mind Control Ultra. The Nazis had millions of prisoners they intended to gas and burn, so they could do anything to their experimental subjects that they wished. The Nazis experimented with children and adults using mescaline, electroshock torture, rape, starvation, sensory deprivation, and hypnosis. The CIA and military copied the Nazis and began their own programs and further standardized and codified the methodology. MKUltra mind control works best when severe trauma is administered by the age of 3 years old. Severe trauma will cause the personality to split or dissociate in an attempt to shield the mind from memories too painful to endure, or the mind itself might be destroyed. It functions much like partitioning a computer hard drive. The Three Faces of Eve is a true story of a woman's multiple personality disorder created accidentally by childhood abuse. Trauma causes the dissociation. The scientific term for multiple personality disorder that is created on purpose by doctors is iatrogenic dissociative identity disorder. MKUltra documents state that the method works best when the trauma is repeated around the age of 6. A few years later, the child victim's IQ test and personality test are evaluated to determine whether the child may be trained in espionage operations. Years later, the adult subject may be hypnotized and used for operations, after which they would have no memory of events and be consciously aware only of a sense of lost time. Experts refer to the time spent under hypnosis as somnambulistic amnesic. The subject is like a sleepwalker who remembers nothing. In the 1977 Senate hearings, former CIA Director Stansfield Turner stated that the program MKUltra took place at over 80 institutions, including 44 universities, 15 private companies, 12 hospitals, and 3 prisons. The current program, that I call Monarch, may be equally ambitious.